Hi, Stampers. It's Lisa. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here today to make a really fun fold card. This one has some surprising pop-up panels on the inside. We have done this one before, but this time we're doing it with an online exclusive stamp set that is called, actually it's a whole bundle, Ready Rhino. And it's only available online. That's one of the things, that's why they call it online exclusive, because that's what it is. There's several products that are never going to be in an actual printed catalog. They're only available online, and this is one of them. And so since most people look at the printed books, I figured I would showcase for you the online exclusives. So this is what we're doing today, is we're making this floating panels card using Rhino Ready. So, are you ready? Here's my desk and the card we're making. And this is the stamp set, and here are the dies. And we're going to be using both on today's card. I know on Monday we did a different kind of fun fold card. We did this sliding window panel. And this one did not use the dies. This one was strictly stamping. Today we are incorporating the dies to go with it. I've also got some other ideas over here that I'm going to show you using this bundle as well. So hang out. I do have more to share with you. And I have some good news. Several of you have been asking me, I can't put my fingers on a catalog, about the Country Bouquet. It was that punch that came out in the mini catalog that was like it quickly went unavailable. It had the heart and it matched the designer series paper. That's now back in stock. So if you were waiting on that one to come back, it is back. It's kind of earlier than we expected it, but I'm all good with that. Also, the framed florets dies, the ovals, those are back on the online store too. So if you're looking for either of those two items that have been on back order or currently unavailable, they're back. So while you're out there ordering your Ready Rhino bundle, you can check those out too. And this one actually pairs really well with another online item, which is this tropical leaf bundle. And then this one has a punch that punches out the large leaf. So the two of them work great together. For our card, you not only need the bundle, but you're going to need some supplies. And so I'm using a Calypso Coral base, and this is 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored at 2 1/8 and 6 3/8. If you only want to remember one measurement, it's really easy, just 2 1/8. We're going to flip it and say 2 1/8. And then after it's scored, I kind of bend the two together, make these middles match up, and then I work my way backwards with the bone folder to flatten it out so that those meet up perfectly in the middle. Then we're going to need some stylish shapes. I have the squares. I used the square stitched die, the largest one, and then the next one down. And then I needed two more of that stepped down version. And these are a little over 2 1/4, I think. They're like not quite 2.5. It's like 2 3/8. So I wanted some border behind these. So I just cut these at 2.5 by 2.5. So those are going to adhere behind for the two inside panels. We're going to do some blending on the outside one. So we're going to do this with ink, and I'm using our masking paper. Have you guys used the masking paper yet? That's really cool. It's just a big sheet of paper that you can stamp onto and then cut out or you can die cut it or any of those things. But anyway, I'm going to punch out a circle, and then I'm going to cover up the middle, and we're going to sponge over it, and then we'll die cut these pieces. And then we're going to make these panels on the inside. So let's do our stamping. Although I'm going to need those 2 circles. So let me grab some scrap paper and my circle dies. And I'm sticking with the stitched or the stylish shapes. I believe these are back in stock too. They were out for quite a while. And I think they're back. But I use these all the time, which, you know, you of course have seen. Somebody's asking if Connie's getting snow in Nevada. Are you in northern Nevada or southern Nevada? I heard Lake Tahoe was going bananas. Anyway, back to my card. I love to get chatty with you guys in the comments. And I find it so fun. They're getting chatty with each other. Okay, so I'm going to use these 2, which are, you know, one up from the smallest. So those 2. And I can run them through the machine at the same time. So I'm going to bring in my little mini. You know, I guess while I have this out, let's go ahead and do that die cutting. I know, I'm doing this a little reverse of what I said, but I can't stamp if I don't have my pieces, and we might as well die cut while it's out, right? So as you can see here, my basic black, I have adhesive sheet on the back of it because this little tree is teeny tiny as far as the little pieces it's going to die cut out. And I don't want to have to put adhesive on that, like trying to put glue on that. It's going to be messy. So I'm going to go ahead and have the glue already on. I think that's just brilliant. I'm so glad they came out with that stuff. We had or probably still have, the fine tip glue. I was never successful at that one. I always made a mess. I use it for crystal effects, but as far as using it for glue, I just made a mess. Maybe that's just me, but these adhesive sheets I find fabulous. I'm just using the take your pick tool in my ejection holes here to get the die out. So my paper wants to stay stuck in there. There we go. And again, you can't pull on it too harshly because they are so thin. Okay. So I needed that one. And then the top to the tree. Which one did I use? I think the smaller? Yeah, I must use the smaller. Okay. I just had it. There we go. And then my inside rhinos, I actually colored with the Stampin' Blends, but because this one was kind of an outside silhouette, I went ahead and I stamped him on some basic gray. I suppose I even could have stamped him on basic black, but I wasn't sure how well the ink would show up on that. And I like it in the basic gray. So in my stamp set is that marching rhino. Hi, I see a couple people over on Facebook. Is Facebook behaving for you guys? I know a lot of people used to watch on Facebook and switched because number one, you don't have to give YouTube permission for me to see your name. And number two, I hear it doesn't hiccup as much. You don't get as much lag time. So I'm just curious how it's working over there today because we've got thunder and lightning and grapple in outside today. All right. So now back to where I said, let's do our stamping. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the other two rhinos. I like utilizing the different stamps in the set. They will all fit on this same block. So I can just clean that off and switch it out. And I am stamping in basic gray instead of Memento black just because it is still dye-based ink, but it's got a softer edge to it. For some reason, I just tend to like that better. Again, that's personal preference. And then remember when I said I was going to use the masking paper? I'm going to use that on our rhinos as well because I want to stamp the grass, but I want the grass to come out from behind. And so I went ahead and I stamped on the masking paper, and then I fussy cut them out. You can also die cut them out, but I wanted it closer to the edge. This gives a little bit of a border around it, and I did not want the border, although it would have been faster if I had just gone ahead and used the dies to make my masks. That would have been quicker and faster. And it still works. Okay, so then I'm going to use Old Olive to stamp our grass along the bottom. And I'm not giving like the total depth. I don't want them buried in the grass. So I'm only going part way up. And then when I remove that, it's going to show the rhino in the foreground. But while I have the masking paper on there, I'm going to give it a little bit of sky. And I'm going to do that with some balmy blue. So this is our blending brushes. This is the larger size. We now have two sizes of our blending brushes. So if you have something that's a smaller area or you want to be more detailed, then you might want the smaller ones, but I most often use the larger. Okay, so now I've got the sky and the grass, and then I can pull this off. And the masking paper protected, well, except that just broke off, protected my rhino. And then I'll have to cut a new one of those. But if I had not ripped off the tail, I just stick them back on the inside of the case and I can reuse them over and over again. You could have put a piece of white in there first and just left the background white, and you could have just stamped a regular sentiment or signed on it as you wanted, but I kind of like the look of mixing up the shapes. Again, personal preference. And then I wanted something to pop, so I was using some brighter colors for the decorations, for the party supplies. This is what our masking paper looks like. It comes with 12 sheets of 5 by 7. And then when you look at it, you can tell that one side is a paper side and one side's kind of a wax paper side. And the wax paper part is what you're going to peel off, and it's going to reveal the sticky, but you want to stamp on the dull side. But like I said, I'm going to go ahead and just use a punch. I happen to have our old 1-inch punch, but if you don't, there is a 1-inch in the circle dies as well. But because I wanted the sun or moon, whatever we're saying this is back here, in white in the foreground, that's what I'm masking off first. So I'm going to peel this off and reveal the sticky. And then oftentimes I will, just to be safe, go ahead and stick it on the back of my hand or stick it on my short shirt or something just to make it a little less sticky, because one time I put it directly onto the paper and it was hard to get off. And basically what we want this to be is kind of a Post-it note kind of sticky. So putting a little shirt fibers or a little bit of oil from your hand makes it easier to peel off. Okay, and I'm going to come in with some yellows and oranges and let's see. So I have pumpkin pie, calypso coral, and mango melody. And I want to have a line differentiator between top and bottom. So I'm going to do the Calypso coral on top. And I started off to the side because I didn't want any harsh markings on here. I wanted any harsh markings to be on our scrap paper first. Then I can switch this over, and this will be the bottom half. But I'm going to start out with Mango Melody. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. And then I looked at it and I thought it was too yellow. So that's when I came in with the pumpkin pie and just kind of darkened that up. And there's my background. Now, apparently I got a little messy and I got some orange onto here, which is giving me the heebie-jeebies, but we can fix that. I can come in with a little bit of the old olive and we can fix it. Well, I probably wanted to put the mask back on to make sure that this blending stayed on the bottom. But I'm living dangerously. There we go. See, now that I've done that, you can't hardly see this orange in the corner. Nobody besides me is going to know it's there. Or you, because you were here watching and I pointed it out. So who's excited about the new catalog coming? I am so excited that as demonstrators, we get to see that next Wednesday. And they're going to let us know about the color refresh and some very slight price increases. But lots and lots of fun new product, which is what I'm most excited about, because then I can figure out what we're doing for our stamp camp. Have any of you been to a stamp camp with myself and Laura? Laura is from Canada, and she and I do a stamp camp together quarterly, and we have one coming up in June, and we're anxiously awaiting what we're going to do for that stamp camp because we wanted to focus on new product. And the stamp camps are something we do online. Laura and I take turns and showcase various cards and 3D projects, and we play fun and games and give away prizes and lots of fun stuff. We are online basically from about 10 to 4. And you guys get to ask questions and craft along with us and work with the materials. For those, everybody always asks me how come I don't provide sets, for the cards I do on Facebook Live. And I don't have the capacity to do that for everybody on the lives, but we do that for the stamp camps. When you purchase the bundle and the class, you get all these pre-cut pieces so that you can craft along with us. And as you're making the card, if you run into issues, we're right there to help you work through it. And then you walk away with 12 finished cards and 2 3D projects. We've even had some that are hobby demos on another team that have joined us just because it's fun to come hang out and create projects with us. I'm coloring the rhinos this time with gray granite. Here I used smoky slate, but I wanted to show you guys the difference. It's not a huge difference, but a little. A gray granite is more, it's got more browns to it, I guess, than blues. It's still a gray, but a warmer gray. And I'm going around and accenting with the dark. And then coming in with the light to blend it all through. Almost done. Sorry, I get a little quiet because I get nervous. I'm going to color outside the lines. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of Tahitian Tide and just give them blue eyes. I like these colors, the Tahitian Tide and the Parakeet. Yeah, Parakeet Party. That one's a green, but they're really bright and vibrant. And so I thought it would be great to use those as their eyes because it just makes them pop. And then maybe a little bit of pink on the toes. Ooh, that's darker than I thought it was going to be. This must be the dark one. I meant to use a light smoky slate. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so if you're going to give that little accent, you want the light smoky slate, not the dark. But look at how cute that is with the just enough little color in his eyes to make those pop. And then his little pink toes. They're not overly, in your face, but they're still cute. The physical catalogs are getting mailed out to the demos, bulk mail. I believe they've already sent them, or if they haven't, they're coming very soon because we're supposed to get them after we get to see it online, but before it goes live for sure. So these can get mounted on here. Oh, I didn't get out my designer series paper. We do have some of that on the front. Do you guys know about YouTube having the notifications and that you can turn them on? There's a little bell that you can click on that will allow you to turn on notifications so that YouTube will tell you when I go live. I had someone comment the other day that they keep missing me live and they wanted to set an alarm, and YouTube kind of has one built in. So I normally have them up in advance, saying that I'm going to be going live, and within that there's a little bell that you click on that turns that alarm on for you. So there's that, and I had a gray rhino. There he is. And I'm only putting adhesive on this side, not on his nose, because his nose is going to stick out over. And I don't necessarily want that to be sticky. See, I start getting out all these supplies and I lose things. There's a top to that tree too, although I like it without. Go figure, huh? Looks just as cute without the top on it. Okay, so I did not get the stamp set that goes with this designer series paper. This is the Delicate Desert, but I really liked this, and I thought it went well with what we're working with today, and that it looks like the back, of that sunset. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those pieces for the front, and because this is 2 1/8 on each side, I'm going to make this 1 7/8, and then the card is 5 1/2, so I want the DSP to be 5 1/4. And then I always use them continuously, so I'm going to cut them side by side so I can put them on the card side by side and they'll match up. So, and then I'm going to need my little part that's going to hold the little squares. Oops. This little strip back here. Those are 1 inch by 5 1/4. And I have a tutorial almost done that is going to be 6 cards using this bundle that I'm going to have for sale in my shop. So if you're losing track of my measurements here, you can always go to the tutorial shop and buy the printed tutorial with all the directions and sketches. Because I'm off camera here. Try not to knock over my lights. I'm going to go ahead and score these little strips at 1 inch, 2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, and 4 1/4. Thank you for Jeanne for answering our questions about the catalogs. See how pretty that is? I just think this looks a lot like a sunset, which is why I created this one to go over it. Aha, that's why I couldn't find our black paper. It's still in the die. I knew I die cut it. Okay, now again, this is going to go in the center, so I'm going to make sure my adhesive is only on that side. And I use a little more than normal because it's going to get movement. Okay, now these are going to go on the inside, and we want them to pop. And so how they're going to pop is these little strips. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the one that is by itself, so my 1 inch all by itself, and it's going to go up here. Now I want it to be kind of centered in my square, but I want the 2 squares to fit in there without hitting each other when they open. So I want a gap in between them, and then I want this about in the middle. So I'm going to put adhesive on it. And then I'm going to butt it up to the score line and then pick it up. Okay, so did that make sense? I just stuck it into the, buttered it up to the crease and then adhered it. Now this other one, this other side, I want to fold flat. And so the best way for me to get that one adhered is to just put adhesive here and then fold it up. And then when it opens, you can see how it pops. So does that make sense? Anybody have questions on that one? I always kind of try to stop and make sure nobody has questions when I hit that point of the card that I feel like somebody might have questions on. Because it's not really difficult, but it's something you kind of need to pay attention to so that the card will open and close smoothly. Okay, so I'm just putting adhesive on this single, one side has 2 flaps and this has 1 flap. It's the side with the 1 flap. I'm butting it into that score line. And I actually even lift up the card a little to make sure that it is not, interfering with how that's going to open and close. Then my other one, when it's closed, I want that part to adhere over there. Oh, yeah, this way. So I'm going to fold over the 2. There we go. So I'm folding at this score line here, and then I'm putting adhesive on the end, and then closing my card. Okay, so there's your little brackets that are going to hold your little rhinos. And then you just want to make sure when you're putting them in that they don't touch, because see how these slide back and forth? We don't want them to run into each other We want them to float freely without banging into each other. But we don't want it off the edge either. So I'm going to go ahead and put adhesive on this middle section. And I'm using that, I want it butted up as tight as I can to here, but I want it to go closed. So I butted it up to the edge with the adhesive there and then pushed it down. So now it's nice and flat. This other one, I want to do the same thing. Again, I'm making sure that I'm pretty close to the top, so I have the gap in the middle, so they're not going to run into one another. And I'm putting extra adhesive here because it does get movement. Okay, and I kind of set it down loosely and then go back and push it after I know that I've hit the right spot. So see how they're both gonna fold flat and they're not gonna hit one another. And I chose to do my sentiments and such in little circles rather than having the layer, the 4" by 5 1/4 white underneath. Before you would put that in before the brackets if that's what you wanted. But I liked the little circles. Make sure you enter hashtag prize patrol because that's how you're going to get entered into the drawing to get a chance at winning today's card. I have a whole slew of them that I have to get out into the mail today or tomorrow because I got behind on mailing them out. But I do have your list. It's all collected on the Google Drive where you went in and filled out the claim form. There we go. There's the inside of my card. I could also choose to put a little mini magnet here to hold it closed if I wanted. Or you could have done this piece on a belly band. That could have held it together. If I was going to do the magnet, I'd put a magnet right here. And then I would have, put the other one to it, closed it so it stuck to the cardstock, and then laid the designer series paper over the top of it. So this magnet would be hidden between the cardstock and the designer series paper. And those mini magnets are teeny tiny. I'm not seeing them right away, but they're really teeny tiny, and they are in a link on my website out on Amazon. My link takes you to exactly the right size that I use for my projects. So there's that. Oh, I promised I was going to show you the other cards in the tutorial. The rest of those over here. So you would get the little sliding window card that we did on Monday. That's in the tutorial. This one here, as well as this card. Then there's this one. This one. This one. And this one. I really like this. I had these leftover strips from, remember when we did the Easter bunny and I had done the floating circle in the background? I had so many of those leftover strips. I wanted to do something with them. So I was kind of happy how that came out. And then I had even more. So they're on the inside. And then Monday, we're coming back for another live. And for that one, I'm using the Nuts About You stamp set. And we're doing this easel card, which is just a little different. It's similar to the ones I've done in the past, but just a little different. And I like these stamps that layer one inside each other so that they color the image rather than having to use markers or such. They're really fast for mass producing and for doing in class. So that's what we're playing with next week is the Nuts About You stamp set. These adorable little squirrels. And I saw online we're going to turn this guy into a little mouse and put him in cheese. So fun stuff coming next week. Does everybody have hashtag Prize Patrol entered into the chat? And remember, if you have ordered from me recently, then you're already on my list to receive a catalog. I'm getting ready, my list ready now and printing out all my labels and getting those ready to go. And if you are not working with me currently and you want to be working with me as your demonstrator, then please let me know and I will ensure that you get the new annual catalog as well. Okay, so let me share the wheel and we will spin and see who our winner of Prize Patrol is for today. So congratulations, Connie. You are today's winner. You will get this card in the mail as soon as I get my act together and get them all ready to go. What you're going to want to do is go to my website, queenbeecreations.net. And then up there in the address bar, you're going to put /Prize Patrol right after the end of my website address. And that's going to take you to a Google form where you can give me your mailing address so that I know where to send your prize. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you right back here on Monday at 2:30. Thanks. Bye.